landmark achievement in paintings.
Okay, so
Sculpture.
if something's a landmark, being a
milestone.
yeah, exactly, a milestone. So it's a very auspicious, very notable occurrence. Then, like I said, some of those themes might not apply for every one of those columns. Try your best. For that section, what could you give one pre-Constantine landmark achievement? Let's just think Rome. What would be something in Rome that's a landmark achievement? In Rome? I'd say the Pantheon. What do you think? Colosseum, sure, okay. I'd say the Pantheon more so, the Dome. How about in Greece? Landmark achievement for Greece. Definitely there's one that should scream at you. What? The Parthenon. And what about sculpture? Which one? Doryphorus. Yeah, okay, so there's an example then for you, those are, and it's fine to take most obvious ones, but boy, if you're doing an essay and you come up with something obscure, do it. Don't say, oh, I'm just going to go for the most obvious ones, but if you have something in mind that is suggesting would be something better to note a landmark achievement. Yeah, so try your best to get that on Friday to me, okay? Cards, images. I think you should keep up with it, though. It's not just Constantine and then that's it. So your next one, it's 400 to 1850. So it's a good amount of time. And then we have 1850 to present, and then your Archeon European tradition. And maybe when you're doing your ABET presentations, you might want to have this with you. Or, each of you are going to make study guide or outlines, handouts for each other when you do that presentation. You could use that then to be able to go through and put these themes together. Is anybody doing it on paper, or are you going to do it on a computer?
I do it on paper.
You are? I would do it on paper myself too, but I'm wondering if you maybe need to just adjust these columns, if they're, or, the rows. Do you have enough space to write, or are you needing to be? Yeah, it's small. So that's my only suggestion. I did this so it didn't look so crazy. You get it and be like a 30-page thing, and you want to, strangle me with it. So, I think it's 8 pages now. All right, so. And have it with you. Bring it here. Maybe, and also take note of in your mind. Maybe you want a list. Just write down what are these different themes. Because these are definitely possible potential for that 30-minute essay. That they're going to ask something. And actually, last year, we did a in-class, short class like today, club day, essay in class. The topic was their essay. Last year. Yeah, they were so excited, and they came out and were like, where was the essay? Where was the essay? And they did a nice job with it, and we did that critiquing like we did. I'm going to try to do that more. I think that was a good thing. I'm not going to spend time to do that now to read over the essays, but yesterday reading a couple of them and hearing each other's writing and hearing those little bits of detail that one person adds, another person misses, or didn't consider, didn't think about. Okay, so let's get into it. So we're looking at Northern Europe, 1400, 1500, primarily focusing in, especially today because it's a short class, we're focusing in on Flemish artists. So Flanders, where was Flanders? You start going over this yet? What? What? Where? Okay, northern part. Like what? I understand we're not having countries yet. But what they were going to use present-day countries, what are we talking about?
Belgium.
Belgium, yeah. A good way to remember, there's a way they call it now, the Benelux countries. So Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and actually parts of northern France will be considered part of our region for Flanders for right now. Yes, there's no, at this time period for Flanders, Flemish arts are primarily going to be focused in Belgium, primarily in the city of Bruges, for specific reasons. For reasons of economics, that there is a vast amount of trade that starts to move now into these northern regions, moving out of all the, not so much out, but shifting some up into the north and less so much over here in places like Venice, Pisa in Italy, that we have this northern economy. We also start to have an international banking system. So Bruges to begin with, but then for environmental reasons, interesting historic lesson that you can't rely on things, that the nature can change your way of life. And the river on Bruges, the city of Bruges, had silted up, and that cut the city off for a time period. And there was then a large flood. It opened up again, shut it down again. And after that point, it was everything had shifted north to Antwerp, which is present day today a very large port city as well. So this economic prosperity that moves into the north shows itself then, of course, in the artwork. So we start to also have artwork that is putting a secular focus, even in pieces like this one here, which is the Merode altarpiece. So an altarpiece for personal, private devotion and the home, smaller scale altarpiece than these larger altarpieces, and especially a few that we'll look at to come. Having also we start to have some other secular work, portraiture specifically. So we have not only religious and powerful kings, dukes, that sort of thing, emperors, who are patrons of art. We start to have citizens who have built up some financial stability. We are dealing with this great schism issue happening that we talked about last class, the 100 Years' War. We're in a post-plague, bubonic plague, the Black Death period. There's maybe in some sense of a rejoicing, a kind of feeling things are maybe moving in this positive direction, maybe a foresight that this idea of a renaissance is on the brink. So, but of course we have a much different perspective on this time period of a renaissance than we see for the next chapter for Italy. So we're always going to be bouncing back and forth now for quite some time for the North and Italy and the North, and comparing and looking at the differences in those. So what do you guys know about this painting?
It's very deep.
It's very detailed. That's excellent observation. Yeah, it's insanely detailed. This is one of the things about a lot of the paintings for this section of the book, is that they're so impressive. They're just like, they make you as an artist go, oh man, how did they do that? Yeah, they have a lot of time, and they got master skills here, just the detail and it's just insane. I mean, here, so we'll use our wonderful feature of zooming, and let's zoom in on Mary here. I'm not, his class is short today, but I put them up, and we've got the geeks, the smart history geeks, and there's a very nice little video. It's about 6 minutes long on this one, and they really go on and talk about how she's Mary is reading this book, and there's this very different kind of approach of her, because the other images we see, like, oh, she's doing that, this chivalry move, and it's just more interactive. Here she's just kind of ignoring it, and she's reading her book, and they're like, oh, maybe she could have an iPad, and yeah, she's on her laptop, and You know, she's like, she could be someone from today. But that's a good point about this, is that the whole thing is placed within, you know, a setting of a Flemish domestic home, which is another interesting kind of thing, because it says a lot about, one, that this is, you know, for private consumption, for home worship. It's not in a church or on an altar in a cathedral or church. It's someone's private use, so showing their private home. And the symbolism within these paintings is really very, people would have clearly understood what those things are. So can you see anything or think of any symbolism or what that might be from looking at? What is the flower? Yeah, okay, so white lilies are the symbol. We saw this before also. This was in the Martini painting last class, okay, in our last chapter, was a white lily that had been in that Annunciation painting. What else? Anything else? The candle. What about the candle? What do you think that's saying? Yeah, it's been put out. It's gone out. Again, you know, some of this I think is left for interpretation, and we will have that candle thing come up again in another painting that we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. Yeah. Where's my Jason stick? Jason stick. Ah, here it is. So yeah, we've got this freaky angel thing. Here, I'll zoom it too, because it's really kind of cute. That's as big as we go, for real? Yeah, that's it. But can you see him? Yeah. Yeah, so he's flying in the window, like on these light beams, and he's pointing, if we zoom back out, he's pointing right in Mary's direction, and not just in her direction, but literally, you know, at her lower part. If the aim was true, which you would think an angel's aim would be true, he's heading right for the, you know, uterus of the Virgin, I guess you could say. Okay, so the candle is an issue, an interesting, you know, symbolic idea, and this candle being put out, you know, maybe that her life before this point had been extinguished, and she's now, what's that? Not necessarily born again, but that, you know, now, as we saw, like all those cathedrals, they're dedicated to her. She's this connection between humanity and, you know, an actual human and God. She's this conduit then. So that earlier life of her just being, you know, a simple young woman has maybe been put out. The book being open, and if you could see this book of detail, you know, you can look at some images on Google. I don't have time today, but you can read the book. Okay, it's crazy. The way that fabric, the way that these artists deal with textiles and fabric is amazing. And also, the interesting part is that they're fabric textile industries. That's where their money's coming from. That's paying for this in many ways, for the painting to be done.
It's like advertising.
In ways, yeah. In ways, yeah. Sure, exactly. That's a good point, definitely. We might not think about it, but this white linen cloth up here, what do we see? We know this white linen, this purity, this, you know, pure white.
Oh, the chasm.
The what?
The chasm.
Is this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not a. It's like a wash bin. It's I don't know if it's, you know, boiling or anything, but I think it's actually for, you know, like for cleaning, for washing, maybe washing your hands or the other thing, you know, purity, to this cleanliness. So just in this actually a still life piece that's here. Also another thing, maybe in advertising too, this pottery, this style of pottery, you know, you can go and So all kinds of stuff like that. On my trip there, I was, well, I wish I could buy it because I don't want to because it'll break by the time I get home. But the detail is amazing, and it's the still life, all the little doodahs, so to speak. But what's the problem? Perspective is way off, and they're just shoved into this space. You would not. This is worse than your dorm room, right? This is bad. Even with you and Lynn and Angelica and the new girl. What's her name?
No, she's not.
Oh, she's not. The fireplace here too. These are interesting kind of things. These are so the embers don't blow out at you and get your clothing or your rugs. Burn holes from the embers. But there's all sorts of other little details within it. The detailing of the windows, the fireplace, the details within it. Look at the furnishings here, the furniture. The amount of detail that's put into every little aspect takes over for the idea about logic of perspective or of realizing, considering proportion. Because if Mary was to stand up, she'd be clocking her head on that wooden ceiling there, okay? And she's not in proportion with the space, nor is the angel, okay? So they're very much put into the focus, but also those objects are part of the focus. They are, they've got a major role to play. So as we know, this is a readable, which is a what? What kind of readable is this? Yeah, what kind of altarpiece? Try what? Triptych. Okay, so three-piece triptych, three-piece altarpiece. Notice that it's hinged here. It's thought that Robert Campin had actually been carpenter, so he very well may have made the entire piece, but he didn't just prepare the painting. Which gets us to this other issue of one of the developments for us for art history is of it being done with oil paints. And we have a few different artists who really master this ability to use oil paint. What do you see as being a visual quality that's characteristic, that's different for us with oil paint?
The colors are bright.
The colors are very bright. They're luscious, especially like colors like reds or the way blues have there's like a sheen to them. And it's oil, so there is a sheen to them. They also have like a kind of, do you know what a varnish means? So literally these paintings have a glare to them. If you're looking at them with the lighting a certain way, you can't see it because there's such a glare that's coming off of that surface. They're painted onto wood, so that's another change that you have. You don't have canvases so much, so to speak. Most of these paintings are going to be on wood. So they are like a piece of carpentry of using the wood panel, the wood framing. We'll talk about framing a little bit more as well. And then this is what it's about. I'd say if we're looking at the dimensions cut off, but it's probably like about this big. It's not that big. It would fit, very nicely on a table in someone's home. Okay, so looking at the other two panels, here we have on the other side, we have the patrons. So this is the other thing we have seen, or where did we see this last? Patron included in the painting? Okay, so yeah, Enrico Scorveni is included in that painting. So here we have, this is Peter Engelbrecht and his wife, Anna Skrinmacher is her name. And it's interesting of noting that their names, Engelbrecht is the angel bringer, angel bearer. So our subject of the Annunciation, the angel is coming, the angel is bearing this news. And Skrinmacher means cabinet maker or shrine maker, which is the other side here. So this is Joseph shown on this maybe like sort of like a back porch sort of other scene like our idea of looking through the window that we're getting now with the Renaissance period. So the Engelbrecht and Stringmacher over here, it's like they're entering into the space. So we start to see patrons added into this story, adding them their image into these biblical kinds of depictions, and specifically here for Annunciation. Insane details back here. It's really hard to see with our image, and it won't zoom much more. Let's see how much more I can zoom in on that to see other things happening in the background. Actually, this one is a good one. Let's go back here behind. Look at the cabinet maker first. So there's also, not only is the painting a still life and portraits, but a landscape. Okay, there is a landscape in the background, there's people, and this scene of area of Bruges is incredibly beautiful. If you go there, it looks like this still today, and these little open courtyards, so it's depicting that as well. All of the details of the tools of Joseph using to make mouse traps. So he's making mouse traps. Seen as to be, of course this is post-plague, and plague is still a concern. You don't know if it's going to be coming back, and it does sometimes, different places. It doesn't just go away overnight. And so that's seen as an evil, and we don't understand what's going on with the plague, why that happens exactly, thinking that it's demons, the devil. So this is a devil trap to catch the little devils. If you ever had a mouse in your house, you might think as well that they were a little devil, because they could be rather mischievous and kind of unpleasant. But again, detail. This painting here, this is still absolutely amazing still life with all the details of what a carpenter would use. All around the way wood is treated, and then of course this awesome landscape in the background. Okay, so there's our Merode altarpiece, and also it is an altarpiece, so it's going to hinge open. And to tell you the truth, I honestly don't know what's on the other side of those doors. I really don't. It'd be interesting to look that up, so I can't tell you something I don't know. All right, so I think we're going to see the map. Yep. Okay, so here's where we're talking about, and I don't like that they do that later, but that's okay. It can be confusing. So this idea of Burgundy, we're going to talk about probably more on Friday. We'll get into some more details about Burgundy. But we're primarily looking today here up at Bruges, and then here at Antwerp and Ghent. Okay, so these different parts of Flanders. And we also will look later at Berry. Notice here most of what we know of Germany is the Holy Roman Empire, as well as parts of Italy, northern Italy. So this is setting the scene for us at this time period of what the map is looking like, and where, excuse me, where we're specifically talking about today and Friday. We saw this last year. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember.
You remember?
The angel.
Yeah, the angel. Okay, so do you remember what was? Do you remember anything about this? Okay, so here I'll zoom so you can write. Oh, all right. Well of Moses. This is in France. We have a artist who is brought in by the King Philip, who has an appreciation for all different styles of art, major patron of art. He's bringing an artist from the Netherlands, from outside of Amsterdam, Haarlem, to come to work on artwork, specifically sculpture. So Klaus Schluter is this sculptor who did this well. There's a palace as well as a monastery that's on this property. And French students, how would you say that? Okay, sounds good to me, because that's about what I would have said. That's a good big guess. So Chartreuse is a charter house in English. So this idea of a charter house, do you remember what that was when we saw Salisbury Cathedral? It's like a kind of an offshoot room, oftentimes a round room or smaller space, where it would be a meeting place for monks, kind of to go over daily business, what are the chores of the day, what different events are happening, or things to know. But the thing about these monks, the Carthusian order of monks, is they've taken a complete devout, vow of silence. No speaking, very focused in on prayer, specifically focusing in on prayer for the dukes and the whole realm of Burgundy. That they are unlike the Franciscans, the Dominicans. They're not mendicant. What does that mean? Yeah, they're not out begging. They don't have patrons. They don't have, all of their income is being supplied, and their ability to be able to be at this monastery is supplied by the Duke of Burgundy. So in payment, this very nice, agreement that's been made is that they are to be praying for the, the good of the Duke and of the kingdom in general. Okay, so but the strange thing is the thought that because this is a fountain and that there is a spring that's there, freshwater spring, that water would be able to come out of this. But they don't necessarily think that it would be running all the time because they were so devout in their vow of silence that the water coming out as a fountain, of course, if you've heard fountain, it's, making no noise like when you're in the shower in the bathroom. But artistically speaking, clearly Klaus Schluter has this sort of Gothic style, and your book last year was referring to this as International Gothic style. Remember? And I'm going to suggest to you that what we looked at last chapter for Proto-Renaissance, and we saw Simone Martini, and it was saying international style, I would really suggest also saying International Gothic style. And the reason why is because you don't want to confuse it with later on, way later on it seems at this point, but it'll be here soon, when we are covering modern architecture, there's an international style of architecture. I think it's not hugely confusing, but just noting that a lot of this aspect of international style for this period of late 1300s is a Gothic feeling to it. It is this pre-Renaissance type of style. So the characters within this, Moses and some of the prophets, David, Zechariah, that they're put into this sort of like a column, and yeah, go ahead, sure. And then the angels up in the top. So we have a couple of examples of sculpture in this chapter, but not a lot. Our primary focus is on painting. So here's the doors outside of the chapel then, and very Gothic, right? You got the jambs, you have the pointed arch, not as frilly decorative, all right? So it's extra image. Okay, getting more into altarpieces, and okay, because this is only a part of the altarpiece. You're only seeing one. I guess this would be the left side. If you have your book and you're here, page this is going to be on, you'll see that this is just the one side, and this is it closed. Okay, so the paintings are on the outside. On the inside, many times with a lot of the altarpieces, inside is relief carving. Sometimes like way, detailed, or much more than relief even. And so this is the outside, and this is with the door, how it would appear closed. Which, keeping in mind that majority of the time, that would be how it would be seen as being closed. Okay, I just passed it. Not too far. Here we are. Back right here. So if you see the image from the book, there it is. Okay. Okay, so this is the one side. So here we have the Annunciation being shown, and what's the other one? I'm skipping my mind right at this moment. Is the Visitation. Yeah. Okay. So oil painting on wood. This is starting to become, you know, the media of choice for these altarpieces. Very, still showing Byzantine kind of styling to it. We could say international style somewhat. Not as much about, you know, architectural framing of it like we saw previously, but painted architecture within. And interestingly, that we have architecture that looks to be classical in style in the background, and then here is kind of, I guess, like a porch or portal area in a Gothic kind of style, but still very, you know, I think kind of Minera Grecia sort of styling to it, okay? And then the other side, here's the other side. So this is another part of the New Testament. So Jesus being presented at the temple by his parents, and then their flight to Egypt on the other side. So and then inside was of course, a different artist. So two different artists working on this same piece, and you will see this quite a bit. Unfortunately, we primarily only look at painting, but I'll tell you, some of those sculptures inside are just amazing. I think in your book we only have really one that we look at, where we see this wooden sculpture on the inside. Some of them are just outrageous. I actually saw one, I guess it was in Amsterdam, and it was the whole altarpiece, I'm not kidding, it was like this high and this big, and they had it opened up, and they had a magnifying glass in front of it. It was sick, really. It was really sick. The detail of this wood carving is just like, how did they do that? You just you look at this kind of stuff in awe and wonder about you know, sculpture, and then this, of course, as far as painting. Okay, so our big one, you know, potentially the biggie. Last chapter we had Giotto. This chapter we have Jan van Eyck. Okay, and so we start by looking at the Ghent altarpiece, which, by the way, I had found. Oh, what did I do with it? Here it is. You know, remember I told you this guy gave me all this stuff last year. And he gave one of them I noticed was this. I was going to hang them up, but I thought maybe you might want to look at it. It means nothing to me because it's all in Chinese, but it might mean something to you. Although I don't know. Can anyone not read Chinese? You guys all read Chinese? Yeah. Okay, well, don't laugh. Some people can't. I had students who could speak Chinese but can't read it, which I don't blame you because it's hard. But he shows some interesting kind of details. Where's the one with the Ghent altarpiece here? Here it is. So you can pass that around. You can see a little bit of details of things. And I'll zoom in some too. Okay, so moving out of Bruges and then into Ghent. Now, Jan van Eyck did work in Bruges primarily, and if you go to Bruges, you'll actually see a lot of his paintings in the museum. Some really amazing things there. This is the altarpiece closed. Okay, so these are the doors closed. We have both of the patrons painted within. Hold on, let me catch up with my notes here. Okay, I'm looking at ahead. I got ahead of myself. Okay. So he is working for, this is the patron here, the man here. He's a diplomat for Philip the Bold and of Burgundy. He's doing all different commission work for, you know, he's definitely a sought-after artist and seen as, you know, not only by people in, you know, Flanders and in this region, but eventually, very soon, you know, people like Michelangelo are going to look at Jan van Eyck and say, this is a master, this is an amazing artist here. And I don't think anybody could doubt that at all. What's it called then of these types of paintings? What is it? Grisaille, good. Okay, so he's got these Grisaille paintings, and then there are Annunciation, and then I think some prophets up there, or martyrs up at the top. And then when we open it, so here it is open. Now, I don't have time, obviously, at all, because it's a short class today, but the geeks, the, you know, smart history geeks, there's 2 videos on your site. They're right at the top. I really suggest watching them. Here, I'll go back. So here, today is class 44, and at the very top of, I didn't go through this with you, some different historic things, some background you might want to put into your notes. But these here, they're like 10 minutes each, so opened and closed. I highly suggest you watch those, okay? I'm not going to have time to go through all that with you. Same thing with the Robert Campen one. There's the video that I had mentioned that I found with them, and they're quite kind of entertaining, as they always are. Okay, so insane detail, insane amount of focus on everything. There's nothing that doesn't have the utmost attention placed on it. So this is again altarpiece, but it's also known as the mystic lamb, the sacrificing of the lamb. Here, I know it's hard to see. Let me zoom in on the lamb. We'll focus on that part first. So this idea of the lamb, nothing new to us, going all the way back to classical. See how far we can actually go. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay. I mean, look at that landscape in the background. Just that there, that paint, there's a painting right there, but that's just a section of it. It's rather large. It had been dismantled, this whole painting. A little bit later, the Protestant Reformation comes around, and there was this sort of iconoclasm that happened during that time period. So, what does that mean? Yeah, anti-artwork or altarpieces and decorating of churches. So this was just all the parts of the polyptych, meaning numerous panels, I remember that from last year, of having been dismantled and put into storage. When it was put into storage, they lost the framing of it. They just took the paintings. But the framing oftentimes is very, very important to the paintings as well. And we'll see that with the two paintings I won't get to today. I'm running out of time for 5 minutes. But you'll see that specifically with the quote, self-portrait of Jan van Eyck. So, having all of the saints and everyone coming here in this ritual of a symbolic idea of what the Mass is, the Eucharist, the body of Christ, the sacrificing of a lamb or a sheep in the pagan, classical religion, being transformed into this Christian idea, the Good Shepherd. We went through all of that, this whole year. And then the fountain, the sort of fountain of life. If you could see, there's like a channel of blood that comes down into the water, and the water leaks out. All throughout, and you can't see it on any reproduction. You have to see it in person. By the way, this was shot at one time. Somebody came into the church with a gun and shot it. Now it's behind bulletproof glass, and it's extremely security. They let no photographs at all. I did manage to take a photograph, but it's really crappy. Because I didn't want to get caught. And it's behind that bulletproof glass, so it's very difficult to photograph, and it's dark, it's in this small little room. They also have a copy of it, so you could go, and nobody cares about the copy if they get shot. You can go right up to it, it's an exact copy. But all throughout the grass and the ground here are like gems and sparkling, diamonds, and it's like, this is paradise. This is absolutely heaven on earth. Exactly. Diamond City. Forget emeralds, right? I don't know. Maybe emeralds are worth more than diamonds now. I'm not really sure. I like them better. They're pretty. I like gold or green. Okay, so we have God, the Father. We have Mary. We have John the Baptist. We have a chorus of angels, and we have Adam and Eve on each side. These very freaky kind of figures of Adam and Eve. What's that? Yeah, clearly he's not looking. He's not getting that Renaissance idea exactly. but obviously he's on that track. He must have been looking at somebody, but he's of course using this Northern Renaissance stylization of things, and maybe also accentuating like that of the abdomen. This this is the womanly symbolic aspect, the characteristic of womanness. So in this very voluptuous pelvic area. Great detail placed on things like the hair, specifically looking at the feet. Look at the feet. Look at that. I mean, that's like photographic there, But even more so. Oh, look at that. Look at that fabric there. The fabric is mind-blowing. When you see these paintings, Van Eyck paintings in person, the first one that I saw in person was there's numerous different Virgin Mary paintings, and one, it was, forget Virgin Mary, I was like, look at that carpet. It was like you could touch the carpet, that it was, you feel the plushness and the beautiful colors in this, very tightly woven, decorative carpet. Look at the gold within the crown, it's sparkling. As I just scroll across, you feel the silkiness of this piece of fabric. Scrolling over, we have some more angels over here singing, but then we have Adam and his feet, and that's one of the aspects, that's really interesting. It's, oh, I'm sorry, you can't see it. Let me zoom out more. There you go. Let me try to go this way. There we are. Wrong way. So Adam's foot is sort of, it's sort of raised up, and it almost gives this appearance that he's stepping out of the frame. Keeping note that this frame is not the original frame, but many times within frames, especially in altarpieces, it would be giving information. Now that information would be important at that time period, but it'd be crucial for art historians to be able to have that information. So it's really unfortunate that that frame, original frame, is non-existent. Look at the tile work here, and trust me, it wouldn't be all pretty silly stuff here like you see. Every detail is precise, precision, no brushwork seen at all. And not to mention that this is huge. Okay, this is really, really a big painting, huge painting, that would have definitely been very influential in a lot of ways. Oh crap, there we go. Okay, so we'll pick up on Friday, and I'm going to really try to get my